Hey, what's up, Vampire Diaries fans? I'm Mel, and I'm here to recap Season 6, Episode 19, because of the Vampire Diaries, set to air April 23rd, 2005. And before we get started, here is the synopsis for the episode. Wrestling with whether or not to tell Elena about the cure, Damon brings up their future together and what life would be like if they weren't vampires. Meanwhile, it's all hands on deck when attempts to stop a humanity-free Caroline doesn't go as planned. Elsewhere, when Bonnie discovers that Damon has betrayed her trust, she takes the matter into her own hands, setting off a chain of events that leaves Damon dealing with the fallout. Lastly, after being forced to face his traumatic past, Enzo sets out for answers and is surprised when he learns the truth about the day he was turned into a vampire. Stefan, Matt, and Alaric are also set to appear. Now, the way we left off the previous episode is when we learned about their heretic hybrids that Lily has been traveling with and who she wants to release from the 1903 prison world. And basically, the heretics are siphoners like Kai, who absorb magic yet cannot produce it on their own, who have been turned into vampires by Lily. And because these heretics are vampires, they now have a constant source of magic within themselves due to the magic that comes with being a vampire. So they are definitely a force to be reckoned with, and Jo showed her fear at the very idea of Kai becoming one of these hybrids. And it's a very scary thought, but as a viewer, I would love to see that happen. So anyways, based on the synopsis, we know that Damon is going to try to figure out how Elena feels about the idea of a cure or idea of a human life without actually telling her that he has a cure, or Silas's cure, with him because of Bonnie. I think he's going to try to figure out what to do based on her answers, and I have a feeling that's going to be troubling for him. On one hand, I get why he's not outright asking her, because he's afraid what the answer would be, but at the same time, I'm annoyed that he's not, so it's a toss-up. So, also with the last episode we saw the return of Stefan's humanity, thanks to Lily, who was coached by Damon, by the way, and I just have to say, I love the fact that even though Damon used Lily to deceive Stefan, I love the fact that Damon knew what needed to be said and what needed to be done through Lily in order to get Stefan with his humanity back, if that makes sense. So it's definitely Team Stefan right there, the whole brotherhood thing there. And then also with last week's episode, we learned that Lily was the vampire that turned Enzo back in 1903. So if Enzo is now set on trying to figure out what happened that day, he is either going to have to go to Damon, I think, for answers, or he's going to have to go to Jo, but I don't think Enzo met Jo yet. So if that's the case, I'll be ecstatic, because the only Damon and Enzo scene we've had this season is in 606 when they're both prisoners in that truck. And that really bums me out that they've only had that one scene together. And then, from the looks of it, Bonnie finds out that Damon betrays her, and I'm guessing the betrayal is the fact that he gave the Ascendant to Lily, even though he promised Bonnie that Kai would be stuck in 1903 prison world. So I'm kind of worried what Bonnie would do to retaliate on Damon's betrayal. But it's not like, I don't think he thought that Lily could access the Ascendant. Plus, if Bonnie was so worried, why didn't she have the Ascendant to begin with? It's just crazy nonsense. All that is predictions based off of the synopsis that we were given. And based off the promo, though, however, Stefan's going to try to fool Caroline into thinking he still doesn't have his humanity back on. And some things happen between them, let's just say. But it'll be interesting to see how this episode plays out. So let's get on to the recap, shall we? And figure it out all along the way. Once again, I just want to make clear that whatever I had said previously in this episode was recorded a few days before this very moment, which is 2 hours after the episode ended, just so that I could give a genuine pre-episode prediction for you guys. So everything you hear afterwards is basically me reacting to tonight's episode, which is truly, I'm still boggled by it. While I love the series that is The Vampire Diaries, I will have to say that there are just quite a few things have me wondering, why would you do it like this? Or I'm pretty sure it could have gone a different way, or you could have done something differently to maybe get a better outcome, but I'm not the writers, and because of that, I have to squish all my why did you questions. But because this is my recap after show highlight video, you may have to hear me ramble about it, and hopefully I'm not the only one having these questions or concerns. So anyways, before starting this, I was trying to figure out the best way to recap an episode without it ending up being 40 minutes long, like my first attempt at a recap was all the way when I had to recap the originals episode of this week. So based off of what I noticed actually is that I could safely say there was maybe about 3 different storylines going on in this episode, even though they all intertwine at some point, having different characters go from one plot to one storyline to another, but there's definitely 3. And I'd say the first one revolves around Caroline's humanity trying to flip that switch back on. The second one has to do with the cure, and then the third one has to do with the Ascendant and the 1903 prison roll. So out of the 10 characters featured tonight, only one character actually travels between all 3 of the storylines, and that is Damon. And then Elena only features in the humanity and the cure plotline, and then Lily and Bonnie are in the Ascendant cure plotline mix, and then Stefan, Caroline, Alaric, and Joe just stay in the humanity plot, while Enzo and Matt stay in the Ascendant plot. So originally I was going to try to do it pairing wise, but since they intersect so many different times, I'm going to try to deal with it plot wise. So let's start with the cure. It seems to be the smallest one anyway, or either way. So Damon still hasn't told Elena that he has the cure thanks to Bonnie, so instead he's asking her all these different questions about what she sees her future as, playing the Let's Be Human game. And one of the sneak peeks that the CW released actually focuses on a version of that game, and Elena goes into great detail of what she sees her future being in 5 years. And right off the bat, she says it's with Damon, no questions asked. But when he asks for specifics, she really gets into specifics, even going as far as saying that she sees them living in Tribeca above a bar that Damon owns, and she is a surgical resident, and eventually they'll have kids, hopefully 2, so that they can occupy each other while Damon and Elena do other things together. So it's very extensive in the fact, and automatically right off the bat you automatically get the sense that she's really thought about this, even though it's a future that to her knowledge she can never truly have. Then it kind of seems like it's like, why would you care? If you didn't care about something, you wouldn't put enough thought in it. So with all this thought put into it, it really gives off the impression that Elena does care about this idea of a future. But here's the thing though, even though they were playing the human fantasy game, if you're human 5 years from now, where are you? That's Damon's question. But the way Elena gives it off, it's a future that they can get while they're vampires. I mean, Elena sees them living in a loft in Tribeca above a bar that Damon owns. That can easily be achieved. And then Elena being in the surgical residency program, isn't she a pre-med student? So it's like she's already on that track. It's like, yeah, sure, you're going to have to move every few years to throw people off the fact that she doesn't age, but like that's still attainable as a vampire. whole thing about kids. They want 2 kids. Who says the kids have to be biologically theirs? I mean, there's always adoption. Why can't that be something they pick? I mean, it's like, especially in Elena's case, when she's a doppelganger, it's like, if she has a kid of her own, then she's basically continuing the doppelganger bloodline, and I would find it hard to believe that she'd want to put her future descendant through what she had to go through as the doppelganger. So why not just adopt? Simple as that. I really don't know. So through the whole episode, when it comes to the cure, Damon is asking Elena all these different questions. And so to sidestep off of the cure, while they're asking all these questions, Damon and Elena are also helping Stefan get Caroline's humanity back, with the plan that they are going to trap her, and then they're going to bleed her dry so that she's weak, and then they're going to swarm her with so many memories to the point that it overwhelms her enough that she gets her humanity switch flipped. On paper, great plan. I don't see what could go wrong with it. Of course, stuff goes wrong. Stefan has to go in undercover and convince Caroline that he does not have his humanity back at all. And while he says he could do it, watching those scenes with him and Caroline, it's very obvious that he is different. His humanity is back because he's refusing a lot of her advances on him when emotionless him didn't care. He just took what he wanted. But now that his conscience is back, he's now resisting. He doesn't want to take advantage of Caroline, who has no humanity. So it's very obvious. And eventually Caroline does catch on to that, but I jumped forward too much. So anyways, Stefan lures Caroline to a bed and breakfast that Damon had vampire-proofed, and that is where he bleeds them dry for 3 days, and basically they're slowly desiccating in that room. And their first ploy was for Elena to go in with a letter that Liz had mailed out with the assumption that it would be mailed back to Caroline after she passed. So it's basically like her last moments, I guess, she was giving to Caroline. So with that letter, Elena had hoped that it would bring Caroline's humanity back. Instead, that backfires. Caroline, instead, after instantly recognizing that the handwriting was Liz, that it wasn't a ploy letter, she tells Stefan to burn it. Stefan's a bit hesitant at the moment, but eventually he does burn the letter. And Elena is mortified at the fact that she lost the letter, the one leverage that they were hoping to use against Caroline. And quite frankly, I'm a little bummed at the fact that they did not have a decoy letter. I mean, from Elena's reaction to the letter being burned, she makes it sound like that was their one shot. Like they were putting all of their eggs in this one basket, and yet it went up in smoke, basically. So I'm a little peeved at the fact that they did not think to copy the letter. I mean, they could have easily found a way to open up the envelope, take the letter out, duplicate the letter, how many ever times they need it, and then put it back in an envelope, or have one of them copy the handwriting, because it's not like forgery is unknown to them, and then present Caroline with a version of the letter so that in case something did happen to it, they still had a backup just in case they needed it again. I'm just surprised that they didn't find a way to do that, so that was a bit disappointing. So when that doesn't work, Damon tries to bring up all the murders that Caroline caused, and tries to give off the sense of, oh, what would Liz think of this, since Liz was the chief, and he was trying to make it try to target Caroline's guilty conscience, not only for letting her mother down, but also for the fact that she's killed so many people. But instead, Caroline doesn't buy it, and she actually turns the tables on Damon and Elena. She actually brings up the fact that that Damon and Elena are playing the game of pretending to be human. In regards to whole cure questions, they were actually on guard duty when that happened, so Caroline and Stefan are listening to this with their vampire hearing, and she taunts them about it, taunts how Elena's always going to be settling as long as she's a vampire because she never wanted to be a vampire, which is sadly true. And she even says, and I quote, Caroline to Damon, "How does it feel to know that you can't give someone the life that she really wants?" Elena doesn't like this. She tells Caroline to shut it, but Caroline just counters by saying, "I'm just stating the facts, Elena." And I gotta say, beautiful performance by Candace for Caroline in that scene. For Caroline in this whole scene, actually, as being without her humanity, is just like, she gives out the fact that she does not give a crap, when Caroline's is usually this bubbly character who wants to help, who wants to help you when something's wrong, and wants to do something to help you if she can. It's like that kind of person. And it's just great to see completely two different sides to one character. So anyways, that happens. Elena has to leave because she can't take it. So with that being said, Stefan and Caroline end up at odds with each other when Caroline realizes that Stefan has had his humanity back the whole time since they've been at the bed and breakfast. And the whole reason that Damon and Elena had found them was because of Stefan. So she manages to break his neck, which I find odd that she decides to do it now, but makes sense. And then she's very determined to escape, and after a few kicks at the steel metal door, she breaks free, she walks out, and she looks like she's on the prowl. Now, initially when I saw this scene, I was like, no way, not possible. That room is supposed to be vampire proof, she's not supposed to be able to get out. But then it's determined, and then the reason why she was able to get out is determined later on. But anyways, so Caroline's on the road. She drives fast enough that she gets pulled over by a cop, but the cop ends up being her dead mother. So immediately Caroline's already on the defensive, saying, "Mom, I'm your daughter, it's me, don't you know who I am?" And then Liz counters with the fact that, "No, you're not my daughter, my daughter wouldn't do this." It's like stuff like that. She even says, and I quote, I raised my daughter to be a good person." So Caroline's not taking this, so she turns the tables and starts choking Liz to the point that it startles Caroline awake back in the bed and breakfast room, and she's shocked to realize that Stefan was actually feeding her these images into her head in hopes to get a response for her. So I'm assuming now that the whole reason Caroline escaped from the room is because Stefan was feeding that image to her. But I'm confused as to when it switched from it being a reality scene between Stefan and Caroline, and then it being images Stefan was pushing at Caroline's head. It's like, I don't know when one switched into the other, but that's how I'm reading it. So Stefan's trying to convince Caroline to switch her humanity back on, but she gets so irritated that she breaks a window pane and she stakes him in the stomach again. And I believe this is the third or fourth time that she staked him somewhere since she turned her humanity off. And I mean, wow. It's a good thing she's not purposely aiming for his heart, or otherwise I think she has aiming issues. Anyways, eventually she even says, and I quote, "I don't want your help, Stefan, I just want you to die." That's harsh, but coming from a girl who has no humanity, no emotions, makes sense. So eventually, instead of driving the stake further into his stomach, she goes for his heart. And not with the stake, I believe she actually goes in his chest and she grips at his heart. But in that moment though, Stefan pushes a different image into Caroline's head, and it's an actual memory that he had with Liz, and it's meant to take place around the time of Bonnie's birthday, when he and Caroline were in the woods looking for the buried Miss Cuddles. So in the memory, Stefan actually went to Liz for a sewing kit because Caroline wants to sew Miss Cuddles back up. And in that clip, Liz actually talked about how she hoped that Stefan and Caroline would become more someday after she's gone. And Stefan says that it's going to take time, but I'm willing to wait, which I loved. Fantastic. And in the memory, Stefan actually notices the letter, and Liz tells him that she wants to get the wording perfectly. She wants to be able to, her final words to Caroline in a sense, because she knows that when she emails it out, it's going to come back to Caroline probably when she's already dead. So, but with that memory, Caroline, it's like seeing her mom in an actual memory and not in hallucination is what caused the switch to flip, because now all of a sudden Caroline's pleading for Stefan to bring the memory back, to let Caroline see the rest of the memory, to let her see it again, to see more of it even. And when the memory continues with Stefan leaving Liz behind, we see Caroline going up to the door and actually pleading for her mom to come back, pleading for her to open the door so she can read the letter. And then when it comes back to reality, Stefan apologized, saying that I didn't know what was in the letter. I never saw her write it. And then he reminds her that you burned the letter. It's like, there's no other copies. Like, that's it. And Caroline breaks down by the letter's ashes and says, and I quote, "I ruined everything." And while seeing Caroline not only back with her emotions on, but so broken down like this, because of everything she's been through, not just because of Liz's death, but because now she's realizing what she has done during her emotionless reign, I feel really bad for her. But then I kind of want to be like, it was your own fault, because isn't she the one that told Elena that she could be emotionless better than Elena, that she could handle it better, and yet here we are. And she's done the same mistakes that Elena did when she was emotionless. She's killed people. She's done things she usually wouldn't have done. And now she's paying the price for it. So on the one side, I am very sad for Caroline that she has to go through all these rush of emotions like this, if that makes sense. But then on the other hand, I'm glad that she's breaking down, because it just proves that she isn't better at handling being a vampire than she originally told Elena before flipping the switch. She's not, just because she's better at her bloodlust doesn't mean that she's better at anything else that comes with being a vampire. So I just like that. On two different sides, I'm sad about the breakdown, but then glad that she was proven wrong in the fact that she can't handle it. So maybe next time she won't turn her humanity off. So eventually, after she gets checked out, she looks over those case reports that Damon had tried to use against her, and she looks at the ashes again. And then when Stefan comes back, she even tells him that she's not gonna flip the switch again. She's learned her lesson, apparently, but she doesn't know what to make of her and Stefan. She doesn't know where they stand. But the one thing she does know is that she has to leave. She has to take some time to herself, which makes sense. So she has to leave. And quickly, before I move into the Ascendant plotline, Alaric and Joe also played a hand with the Humanity plotline by being guards on the door. One of the sneak peeks actually showed them playing gin with them while talking about wedding cake tastings and possible tequila bars, and had them making out like teenagers, which I thought was very adorable for them. They deserved happiness together before Elena interrupted them, saying their guard duties were done. And then they appeared again at the end when Joe came to check on Caroline after she flipped her switch back on. And Alaric and Joe are even the ones to tell Stefan to not leave just yet and to let Caroline decide whether she wants to see Stefan right now or not. Because originally he was just going to leave and go home, take a shower, because he believed that Caroline didn't want to see him. So with the humanity plotline taken care of, we go to the Ascendant, and it's very quick and easy. Lily is still determined to rescue her heretic family from the 1903 prison world, and she has the Ascendant that Damon had given her as reassurance. But after Damon had told Bonnie what he did, Bonnie took the Ascendant back without Lily realizing it, causing Lily to go down a downward spiral to the point that she threatened Damon to either find the Ascendant or give the Ascendant back to her, or she will destroy the cure. So Damon goes to Bonnie, and he tries to reason with her the fact that he needs the Ascendant, that Lily has the cure, and she's starting to destroy it, but Bonnie doesn't give in. She says, for the first time, I'm putting myself first. And by saying that, she wants to destroy the Ascendant so that Kai and the heretic hybrids can't be released from the 1903 prison world, because she knows that once they're released, they're going to come after her. And she doesn't want that. Plus, also with the heretic hybrids, they are something that they've never faced before, something so powerful. And it seemed like Bonnie may have been comparing them. Maybe she was thinking of Klaus or Silas or the rest of the Michelsons when she said that the heretics are something they've never seen before, and she doesn't want to risk having them come back to the real world. So Damon even tries to fight Bonnie for it, but Bonnie actually calls him out on his cowardliness, really. She even says that he's scared to give the cure to Elena in fear of what she will do with the cure, because he's afraid of losing her. And Bonnie says this quote to him, and I thought it was really telling of how well she knows him, and the fact that, and I quote, "I know you, Damon. I spent 4 months with you, day in and day out. We went to hell and back together, literally, and you're more scared now than I've ever seen you before." And that's telling something, since they went up against Catherine, Klaus, Silas, Kitsia, Marcos, and the Travelers. And yet the idea of losing Elena is what scares him the most. So Bonnie gives him a choice. She says, okay, take the Ascendant, give it to your mother to get the cure for Elena, and then risking the fact that all the heretic hybrids come back and become a threat to not only him, but to a human Elena. And then if we defeat all of them after that, you have to go and watch Elena die in 70 odd years. Or he could lead the Ascendant with her, where she will destroy it, therefore having the cure destroyed, therefore having Elena as a vampire. And Damon chooses to walk away without the Ascendant. And in that moment, I couldn't help but think that even though I'm an Elena fan, I couldn't help but think that Damon chose Bonnie's safety over Elena's chance at being human. And I thought, that has to show something for the friendship that Damon and Bonnie had forged when they were in the prison world together. I don't know if he did it subconsciously because of Bonnie, or if he did it for selfish reasons because he wants Elena as a vampire, but in the moment I thought that, yes, there's a point for Damon in that corner right there. So that's the last time we see Bonnie, though. So we're not sure if she actually destroys the Ascendant or not, but we're left to assume that that's what she wants to do. But when Damon gets home and tells Lily that he doesn't have the Ascendant, she actually tosses the cure box in the fire while explaining her punishment to Damon. And it's not destroying the cure, that's not his punishment. She's giving him, the punishment is giving the cure to Elena. So essentially she wants her son to lose the love of his life. I mean, what mother does that, really? I have no clue whatsoever. At this point, I truly think Damon should have left Lily in the 1903 prison world. But Elena finds the cure in her room. She rushes down. She's all happy, which her reaction is really telling about how she feels on the situation. She wants to share the news with Damon, only to find out that he had it and wasn't planning to give it to her, which shocks her. So Lily leaves for them to talk. And when they talk, Damon explains to Elena his actions. She understands all the future questions, and Damon confesses the fact that the idea of the future, or where she had seen it, freaked him out. But Damon said a lot of great quotes in this, and it means, like, when it's very powerful in a sense. Like he says, and I quote, "All I see in 5 years from now is you." He also says, "I am so in love with you that I don't want to lose you." And he said that in regards to why he kept quiet about the cure. And then when Elena offered to give the cure to someone else, maybe to Abby, who's Bonnie's mom, or to Caroline, Damon knows she's not going to do it. Damon knows that Elena's going to take it, and then in that instant, he offers to take the cure with her. He even says, and I quote, "I don't want to face my future without you." And he says that he'll take the cure and become human for her. And I am just blown away by this. Not only, on the one hand, I'm happy that Damon wants to make that move for Elena, to give up his vampirism to be human with her, even though she technically can't give up her humanity to stay a vampire to be with him. Crazy. But then I'm worried of the fact of what the cure will do to Damon when he's over 145 years old. I mean, with Catherine, she was over 500 years old, and when she got the cure, she aged rapidly to the point of her death. So if Damon were to take the cure, theoretically the same thing would happen to him. He may even die faster because he's under 200 years old. But with Elena, she just has to age maybe 2 or 3 years, and that's it. So I'm very worried about what the cure could do to Damon. But I do love the sentiment and the fact that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her, whether it's both of them as a vampire or both of them as a human. But they both know that with one as a vampire, one as a human, it will not work between them. I'm glad they got that figured out, though, at least. So episode ends there for them. And then another side plot is that Enzo gets the truth from Lily about her abandoning him, and then Matt was meant to be a decoy for Lily so that Bonnie could search for the Ascendant. So he was only shown briefly, but he's on the mend with his stab wound from the previous episode, so that's good to know. But with Enzo and Lily, later on after Lily leaves Damon and Elena to talk, Lily actually calls and meets Enzo on the side of the road, and it was there that she confesses to killing a man, and not just drinking him dry. She ripped into him like the ripper she is, and she's horrified by what she's done, and Enzo sees that, and he tries to comfort her. So it seems that that's the start of a downward spiral for Lily, and I think because of that, that's going to be what she uses to get them to agree to bring the heretics back. Otherwise, they're going to have to either kill Lily or lock her up or desiccate her or something. I don't know. But that is the end of the Ascendants plotline. And pretty much the end of the episode itself. So overall thoughts would be, my mind is everywhere, but I do have nitpicky things, like the way they handled Caroline. I kind of found it surprising that they, even though they vampire-proofed a B&B bedroom, I still found it surprising that they still let her roam around the room to begin with. I mean, Caroline has been an unpredictable vampire since she flipped a switch. So I would have thought that maybe they would have taken more precautions than just the room itself. Like, when they tie her up in vervain-soaked ropes, or to the bed, make it so it's impossible for her to move, make it impossible so for her to retaliate in any way, shape, or form. Or wouldn't they continue pumping vervain into her through an IV or something like that? It just seems like they could have restrained her a lot better. But apparently they didn't. And what else? Joe and Alaric were definitely cute. I will give them that. Enzo and Lily. I'm wondering where Enzo's loyalties lie. He says that loyalty is a big thing for him. But I wonder if he had to choose between Damon and Lily, who would he pick? And it will definitely be interesting. Although technically, no, not really. I guess everybody could say that Enzo's kind of the adopted son of Lily, making Enzo and Damon brothers in a sense, aside from the whole being cellmates thing. But Lily doesn't really see Damon and Stefan as her sons anymore, which is still very sad. So with Bonnie, not sure what she's actually going to do with the Ascendant, but it's great to see her finally taking a stand and putting herself first for a change, because she's always the one sacrificed. She's always the one that's taking the back seat and everything. So it's good to see her put herself in the lead, so to speak. But I am very worried at this point for Damon and Elena. I'm a big Damon and Elena fan, and I'm just worried about what this whole cure business is going to do to them, because I truly thought that we were done with this back in season 4. I didn't think we'd ever see it again, but then it's rearing its head and bringing up old issues. I thought they were extinguished back in season 4. So while I believe that Damon and Elena should be endgame, I mean, everything they've done so far has proven them to be endgame or in a very, very long run. But with the news already that Elena is leaving the show in whichever way, do not know, it's very hard to have high hopes for Damon and Elena being together by the end of it. I kind of wish that they didn't announce Nino Dobrev's departure from the show until after the finale aired. It's kind of like when they announced Claire Holt leaving the originals, they announced it directly after that episode aired instead of beforehand. Same with when Stephen R. McQueen announced that he was leaving the show, or leaving as a series regular. They told us, I think, a few weeks before his last episode aired. So it's like, I think news like that should be shared after their episode airs, just so that to minimize the spoilers, I guess. Because now as a Jelena fan, I'm kind of dreading the last few episodes, because I don't want to see any possibility of them breaking apart. I mean, they've worked so hard to come together as it is. It's just, now I'm rambling. Sorry. So let's just get on to predictions and start off with predictions for the next episode, episode 20, called I'd Leave My Happy Home for You. And the synopsis is basically as follows. As Alaric and Joe reluctantly participate in their bachelor and bachelorette parties, Damon and Elena discuss the ramifications from an impulse offer that Damon makes. Unsure of what to do, Elena turns to Bonnie and Joe for advice, but is left conflicted when Bonnie raises some unanticipated concerns. When Enzo realizes Lily is on a dangerous downward spiral, he asks Stefan to help intervene before it's too late. Lastly, fed up with the supernatural threats that plague their town, Matt takes his frustrations out on Tyler, while Alaric considers a life-changing piece of advice. So right off the bat, bachelor and bachelorette parties, well, that's never been done on the Vampire Diaries or on the original, so it'll be interesting to see how they do it. And Damon and Elena talking about ramifications of the impulsive offer of Damon taking the cure with her. That's definitely going to be addressed. I really hope they bring up the fact that there is a very big possibility that Damon might rapidly age if he takes the cure. Bonnie raising some unanticipated concerns. I have no idea what those concerns could be. Enzo and Lily, I could see a Ripper saga starting up there and bringing Stefan into it. That's like a bad move. It's like inviting one Ripper to another Ripper's party. No, I don't see that going well. Matt and Tyler, don't know why they're getting mad at each other. I don't know why Matt would even push all of that onto Tyler. That's just not right. And Alark and his life-changing piece of advice. I wonder who gives it, or if he gives it, and who to. And it'll definitely be interesting. The advice should definitely be to leave Mystic Falls if he doesn't want to be surrounded by the supernatural. Same with Matt if he's so fed up by it, but what are you going to do? But I believe that's all the initial thoughts I have for that episode. I'm definitely nervous about this whole cure bit, but I really don't see why they need to even consider it. I mean, everything that they claim to want in life, they don't technically need to be human to achieve it. I mean, it's still bothering me in the fact that everything Elena's described as wanting in her fantasy future, she can achieve that as a vampire. The only slight difference is that she has to move every few years to avoid suspicions on her age, and maybe the kids won't be her own. Maybe she won't experience the pregnancy herself, but she could always adopt. I'm going to keep saying that. Vampires adopting is a possibility. That's all I'm saying. So, predictions for the rest of season 6, which is episode 20, 21, and 22, would have to be the wedding, of course. Alark and Joe are going to get married. Apparently in episode 21 is when that's featured. And I really hope Jeremy comes back for the wedding. It would truly be disappointing if he does not come back on his vampire hunting trip for Alark's wedding. I mean, come on. But there's hoping for that. Seems that Mama Salvatore might go down a Ripper spiral. So who knows how long that's going to take. But it's not going to be pretty. I'm hoping for that some Damon and Enzo and Damon and Alark scenes, because there's definitely been very few of them. And it's truly been bugging me because Alark and Enzo, both series regulars this season, and yet they have barely spent any time with Damon. And basically, before they became series regulars, that's the character they connected with the most on the show. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I truly loved Enzo when they introduced him last season. I was hoping for lots of Denzo team-ups once Damon returned from the prison world, and yet we've had no scenes with them except for that one scene when they were in the truck together. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment below if I am, or if I'm not. Say if you agree or not. But I just want a Delark scene, which I'm hoping will happen in the bachelor party, and a Denzo scene has to happen because of Lily somehow. Has to. But apparently there's going to be a cliffhanger, a major cliffhanger revolving Elena in the finale, which is understandable since we all know that Nina Dobrev is leaving the show, but we do not know how Elena herself is going to leave. But if Nina's leaving the show, does that mean that we may or may not get a glimpse of Catherine before she leaves at all? I'm hoping, because all we know is that Catherine got swooped up into some unknown darkness, assuming hell, instead of going to the other side. So if Nina Dobrev is actually leaving and she's not going to be coming back at all, then I really do hope that we get some kind of glimpse with Catherine, maybe. I don't know. But it's definitely going to be a very crazy last few episodes. Don't know what's up in the air, don't know who's going to stay, who's going to go. I'm hoping everyone lives through the next episode. There's definitely one thing, though. In the finale, Damon's life better not be on the line. Because in all the other previous finales, Damon's life has always been on the brink of a life or death situation. So that's my wish. But I believe that is all the predictions that I have for the Vampire Diaries tonight. I believe I covered as much. And yet this is still as long, apparently. Guess I didn't do a very good job. Or I ramble a lot because of the Vampire Diaries. But can you really blame me? I mean, I want to be able to talk to you guys about this or even share my thoughts about it. But apparently I do ramble when I get off track. But anyways, so I'm just going to end it there. Thank you for watching, listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you tune in next week. I'm going to try to cut it down in size, maybe get my thoughts more in order, who knows. But I hope that you guys join me on the ride and come back, leave a comment below, tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, tell me who you ship, who you don't ship. Do you have any questions? Do you have any other theories you want to share, any clarifications you want to make that I've mistakenly made? So I apologize, but I would love to hear them. It's just great to be interacting with other fans that are out there. But yeah, comment, like, subscribe, thumbs up, and tune in next week as we come back for 620. Yeah, 620. So my name is Mel, and thank you for watching. Again, see you next time. Bye.